Yeah, and do we have somebody to second that? Yeah, and all in favour? Yeah, over to you, Councillor Cooper.
Thanks, Andy. I didn't think it was worth sitting on there and then walking over. That's all. So it's fine. Thank you, members. Appreciate that. And welcome to today's General Purposes Committee. You've all seen the agenda, so we'll crack on with it. I've got one change to the agenda, and that is that we bring item 8 forward to the first substantial item because Suzanne has got to get off to an urgent event that she's dealing with. So if that's okay with members, we'll do that. And then Andy, so we'll take it through the business items first. Any appeals?
There's no appeals, Chair.
Any exemptions?
And no exempt information.
Any late items?
No late items.
Any members, any declarations of interest to declare at this point? I don't see any hands up. So any apologies for absence, Andy?
Yeah, we've got apologies from councillors Galton, Kidger and Lewis.
Good. Okay. So minutes from the last meeting. Are they okay for approval? Yeah. Good. Thank you. And then we'll move on to the review of the polling districts and polling places. Susanna, do you want to take this forward?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And thank you for letting me go first with this item. So I've come to the committee today to talk about the statutory review of polling districts, polling places and polling stations, which we must undertake between the 1st of October this year and the 31st of January 2025. Carrying out this review will bring our polling districts in line with the new constituency boundaries, which will come into effect at the next parliamentary general election. On the recommendation of the Electoral Commission, we're seeking authorisation to commence the review tomorrow to conclude with the publication of a revised register on the 1st of March 2024. This is in addition to the 1st of December register this year. And a new polling scheme will then be in place for the elections on the 2nd of May 2024. The consultation will be on the current scheme as it is now and on any known proposed changes that we've been working on, which includes changes to move away from schools being used as polling stations for safeguarding reasons. The information on everything, including the current scheme as it is now and what we're proposing to change, will be available on the website from tomorrow. Responses will be considered by electoral working group, as is the usual practice, and recommendations will be brought back to the committee for approval in February 2024. So we're seeking authorisation for the recommendations A to E in the report and to commence the review tomorrow.
Have members of the GPC got any comments to make at this point? Or are we all agree the recommendations on page 17? Yeah, good. Okay. Thank you for attending, Susanna. Appreciate that. So we'll move back now to item number 7, which is the approval of West Yorkshire Health and Care Partnership Board item. And sorry, can't see that far down there.
Hi, Lisa Gibson.
Sorry, Lisa, I can't see you right down there. Do you want to take this for us?
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. So this, the purpose of this paper is all about the formalisation of the West Yorkshire Health and Care Partnership Board that is already in existence, and it's been going since 2019 with strong Leeds membership. But because of the 2022 Health and Social Care Act, we need to formalise it basically. So it needs to become a joint committee of the Integrated Care Board at West Yorkshire level and of the 6 local authorities which are part of the West Yorkshire Health and Care Partnership footprint. So a board that's already in existence moving into a formal joint committee status. So there are 4 recommendations that we'd like GPC to recommend to council around establishing the joint committee, approving the terms of reference, noting the separate appointment of the chair of the Health and Wellbeing Board, Councillor Venner, and the Council Chief Exec, Tom Riordan, as members of the Partnership Board by the Partnership Board, and that the necessary changes need to be made to the council's constitution. And then 2 resolutions for the GPC directly, that the West Yorkshire Health and Care Partnership Board is a strategic and key appointment in the context of the appointments to outside body procedure rules, and that the GPC resolves to appoint 1 member of the partnership board, which is the council leader, Councillor James Lewis, once subject to the council resolving the recommendations outlined at 1 to 4 above. That's it.
Thanks, Lisa. Has anybody got any questions? Councillor Stevenson.
Yeah, hi. On the recommendation, we're asked to recommend to council the approval of proposed terms of reference in Appendix 1. We haven't been given them.
Apologies for that.
So
I can see that's tricky.
Yeah.
Um,
So we haven't had time to review them.
okay. Democratic colleagues, what would we normally do in that situation?
I'm not sure why they're not on the agenda on this occasion. We can forward them to members following the meeting, if that'd help.
Just on a procedural point, so our recommendation is to council. So is there a time where council then approves them? Is that the process? So as long as they go to council, so we can recommend that they go without seeing them.
Yes.
Do you want me to advise?
Yes,
Chair? So it would be usual, obviously, if you're recommending something to full council for you to actually see that, perhaps a way forward, and because there is some time before full council, we could circulate those to members of the committee, and if there's any issue with those, you can put those comments in by email, and then any report that goes to full council can include those comments. Or another alternative is you could resolve to, subject to seeing them, recommend them, provided there's no objections or comments by members subsequent to this meeting. What I will say is those terms and conditions are the it is the terms and conditions.
Yes,
isn't
it's
it?
the terms of reference.
Yeah, they are the ones that all West Yorkshire authorities are being asked to sign up to. So whilst it's right that we need to approve them, there is a hope from the board that's issued them, is that there'll be a general consensus that they will be approved.
Yeah. And
So I think that's probably the best way forward, Chair.
Okay.
so it's just on, and it's just worth noting as well with the terms and terms of reference are they're the same terms of reference that have been in existence since 2019, and the particular update is that it's now a formal joint committee. That's a significant change, but I can certainly make sure that you guys you've got them, Democratic colleagues, and can circulate them. Apologies.
Thank you, Lisa, Nicole and Andy, clarifying that matter. So what I'm going to put to the board is that we approve in principle, subject to members seeing the appendix that's not attached to the agenda that should have been. So subject to that we approve in principle, unless there are any objections come forward from members once they've seen it, if that's okay with board members. Okay, so do we all approve on them terms then, the recommendations? Yeah, thank you, appreciate that. Okay, so that leaves us with the review of the Constitution, and Nicola, you're picking this for us.
That's me, Chair. Thank you. So this report has been brought to members to inform them about a review of the Constitution, and it's to seek your views as to the scope of that review. There are several drivers for why we think the Constitution needs to be reviewed. It's important that it supports and complements the Council's governance framework, and it also reflects the culture, values and the ambitions of the organisation. There are some other drivers, and they include the need to reduce duplication and bureaucracy and maximise efficiencies with a view to increasing workforce capacity, certainly in response to the financial challenge, the staff survey results around work pressures, and obviously the organisational plan objectives. So the scope of the review needs to be a proportionate response to those drivers, and therefore it's not proposed that a fundamental review is carried out. as you'll appreciate, consultation with key stakeholders is crucial. This has already commenced with regards to senior officers and officers that regularly use the Constitution, but obviously we're seeking the views of members of this committee as part of that. So far, because we have started some consultation, the feedback suggests there is a need to revisit decision making and perhaps the contract procedure rules, as well as how accessible the Constitution is as a document, because a lot of our feedback has been that people just struggle to find what they're looking for actually in the Constitution. So we'll really think that if we can sort that out, that will reduce a lot of time spent on such things. Also related to that is we've had a lot of comments about the procedures that surround the things that the Constitution asks you to do, and we think that there's a lot that we can do on that, but we'll need to see what the scope of the review is before we know what procedures need to be changed, but they will be assessed as part of the review. The next steps are set out in section 5 of your report, members, but in short, it will include the proposed scope coming back to this committee in December for agreement. This will be followed by a period of redrafting with a view to the amended Constitution being fully adopted by full council in May 2024. That's quite an aspirational timescale, but we're really hoping to meet that. After that, training and monitoring will then be undertaken to make sure that the review has successfully responded to the drivers. So I'm happy to take any questions, or if not, we'll just ask to comment or seek your comments on the potential scope of the review, and note that there will be a further report in December. Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole. Have members got any questions or comments at this, or want to share some views? Councillor Blackburn.
That's it. I take it any changes relating to community committees that come up in the community committee review will be taken into consideration when we do this exercise.
Yes, Councillor Blackburn, that is a separate review, but we are going to keep an eye on it. That will, depending on what comes out of that would change the Constitution in any event. So I think it's side by side. This won't, so that the community committee review won't fall within the scope of this Constitution review because it's being looked at in any event.
Councillor Ray.
Yeah, I think completely sensible. I suppose this is a secondary point. Obviously, to a certain extent, this will obviously help clarify things for elected members of the Constitution and things like that. Will there be then steps to basically make those, have those explained to be easy for the public? Because I think sometimes when the public looks at what our roles and responsibilities are, delegations, etc., it's as opaque to them as it sometimes is opaque to elected members, and that probably leading to complaints coming into the system about elected members or officers that aren't actually appropriate because they're not understanding the constitutional role of each.
Well, what we're hoping is that having a more accessible document will in itself make it easier for people to understand. Any redrafting is going to be as clear and as simple language as possible. But at the moment, not to say it can't be looked at, but at the moment we're very clear that we need to be training members and officers. But the public element side of things, we would need to consider that depending on what the changes are.
Yeah, I think to put absolutely around. So maybe as a further step after this is done, that we look at its accessibility to the public in terms of making sure they understand what we're held and not held for as an institution, as individual members. And I completely agree. Obviously, the focus is on us, as it were, to begin with, but in the future might be something to look at.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? So are members okay with the scope of the review? I think it's something that we need to do, isn't it? Make it fit for Constitution, fit for purpose, and make it, available for, members of the public in a user-friendly format, so that, it's really clear to them about, what's within the Constitution. I think it's really important. So if everybody's okay with the kind of scope of the review that's outlined in the report, and with the recommendations, then we'll take that forward. So thank you, Nicole, for that one. Next one, item 10, is the outside bodies appointments. Sorry, Helen, are you doing that one? Thank you.
Yes, that's me. Thank you. Members, this is an update report for the committee on appointments that have been made using the delegated decision powers for the city solicitor since the last meeting of General Purposes Committee. 2 appointments have been made using those powers, and they're detailed in paragraph 4 as the Leeds Heritage Theatres Trust and the Robert Salter Charity. And the outside body procedure rules require that any appointments using the delegation should be reported back to General Purposes Committee. So this report is here for members to note. Thank you. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Helen. Is everybody okay with those appointments? Then thank you. That is that's dealt with. The date and the time of the next meeting is the 13th of December, and hopefully Councillor Lewis will be back in the chair. If you speak nicely to him, may bring some mince pies as it's just before Christmas. But yeah. Yes, thank you very much for your attendance this morning.